we're probably done after this.
Yeah.
Well, it's balanced, but the reason people are being critical is because, of course, the state of Israel and Netanyahu are extremely unpopular with young people.
Yep.
And that is like
they're popular with the old people right now, like old Republican neocon warmongers. That's what I've at least learned, because there's nothing about what Israel is doing right now in regards to starving the people. I don't know much about the Gaza Israel thing, but it is wrong what they are doing. It is genocide, and it's disgusting what's being allowed and what's being ignored and not called out.
Big political crisis is that for 100 years, Israel's been super popular. Maybe not 100 years, but for a very long time. And it's been like a sacrosanct thing. It's like foundational to their national security and also to our political order that everybody supports Israel. Ever since the war in Gaza started, that's totally been in reverse. And now it seems that the majority of people are against Israel and pro-Palestine, and even in particular, the right-wing people and the young people.
I'm not pro either of them.
I think this is my, and again, I haven't seen the whole interview, but I think that people are being critical. They see this as like a push by Netanyahu for public relations. He's going to come on your show to try to get all the young, conservative, frat guys, you know, all the masculine men, the manosphere types, streaming types, to get back in the pocket of Israel. And I think they see you guys as basically doing PR for Israel, doing PR, right, doing damage control for Netanyahu. And I don't think that was maybe your intention. I don't think that's your goal. And I actually agree in principle, you should be able to hear people out. And I think that the reaction sort of vindicates what you're saying, which is, seems pretty unpopular. I mean, it seems pretty transparent. Netanyahu took the interview for that purpose. Of course. He's not going to take...
Yeah, he's not going to take a hardball interview, which Nick is probably about to say, where people who are educated on Israel and what they're doing are going to call them out. They're going to go to the Nelk boys, who they know is going to be a softball interview.
The hard interview with the journalist who's going to push back, who's actually going to interrogate him over the situation over there. He kind of cynically use the platform to take advantage in a certain way to do a form of damage control. And maybe that wasn't the intention, but I think that's how people see it. And you also have to keep in mind that, you know, you said before you brought me on that I'm canceled. You don't know a lot about me, that you think I hate Jewish people. I will say, you know, just for the record, I'm a live streamer. I do a talk show. Okay. So I've never been convicted of a crime. I've never hurt anybody. I'm not a terrorist. I do a talk show. I do a live stream where I talk about politics. Netanyahu, on the other hand, is currently prosecuting a war and has been prosecuting a war for 20 years. And it's so funny that you have an interview with Netanyahu, and I don't know how that came about, but it's totally mainstream. It's totally acceptable. You have it on all the major platforms. But this is somebody who has killed people. This is somebody who's in the process of committing what is effectively an ethnic cleansing and a genocide. And it's just sort of interesting that, you know, we're talking about platforming. Who are we going to bring on? Who are we allowed to talk to and have these conversations with? And people think it's basically a foregone conclusion. We'll have on a foreign head of state who is killing women and children, hosting these humanitarian aid sites, and killing the Palestinians that try to get their food and water. And there's like a moral equivalency that's created with someone like that and someone like myself.
Oh, I mean, we didn't hesitate. We didn't hesitate to have you on for a second. The second the chat said Nick Fuentes, I DM'd you 15 seconds later. Obviously.
No, and I'm not criticizing you or anything. I'm saying that's like the mainstream opinion. Of course. People are afraid to have me on the show. You know, I'm considered canceled or whatever. And I just point out there's just sort of this.
So why do you think? I'll ask you that question. Why is that then? Why are people scared to have Nick Fuentes on?
Well, I mean, that's sort of a tall order, but I mean, it's really a question of our whole political order. I think that you have to ask yourself, why are certain opinions considered beyond the pale? Certain opinions are considered too extreme or radical, and some aren't. I think it has everything to do with who has political power. And so, for example, I'll give you just one example. There was a bill that passed the House of Representatives this week. The vote was 422 to 6. So virtually every member of Congress voted in favor of the bill. Can you guess what it was? It was $500 million for missiles for Israel. Now you think, We just passed this extremely contentious bill, Trump's big, beautiful bill. It cuts Medicaid. It does a corporate tax cut. It does $150 billion for border. It was split down party lines, 50 in favor, 50 against. That's how everything is. Everything, the nominations, the major legislation, it's 50 in favor, 50 against. But when it comes to foreign aid to Israel, it's 420 to 6. It's everybody versus like a handful of people. And this speaks to the fact that our political order, our political system, the government, the mainstream media, they seem to be 99-1 basically in favor of supporting Israel, of supporting Holocaust museums, Holocaust Memorial Day, all this kind of stuff. And when it comes to almost anything else, it's whether it's giving people health care, whether it's closing the border. Oh, this is so contentious. We can't do it. It's so controversial. You're a radical. And it's interesting how it's on, I'm a right-wing guy, but it's on the right and the left. If somebody comes out and says, I think everybody should have health care, you're a radical. I think we should have closed borders. You're a radical. I think we should give missiles to a country that's committing an ethnic cleansing. 500 people vote in favor of that. Everyone supports that. That's fine. It's actually beyond the pale if you disagree.
Yeah.
So
Nick, can I ask you this then? Can I ask you this?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if you did watch, when you do watch the full interview, I think that we did ask, I hit up a couple of my pro-Palestinian friends and asked them actually what I should ask. And we did ask some questions like, why do people say you're starving the people of Gaza? And he basically, so you should look at those clips because we actually tried our best to ask some tough questions like that. So I don't know if you've seen that clip. I asked him, why do people say you're starving the children of Gaza? I believe his response was, they're not, they're bringing in food and Hamas is stealing it and selling it. So we didn't know how to press him about that, but what would your response to that be?
They have a variety of narratives that they use to spin the situation, where they'll say things like, they'll blow up a church, for example. And they say, this happened the other day.
But to that specific instance,
that was an accident.
That specific instance, because that's one, I see it on I follow my friend Bilal Muhammad, and he's super pro-Palestinian. I always watch all his stories, read all his stuff. And that's one I constantly see him posting about. So that was one that I wanted to ask him about. So for that specific one, because it's a huge thing, everyone says he's starving people in Gaza.
For starvation.
Nick, you'd agree. That's probably the biggest topic.
Yeah. That's just simply not true. When they say that Hamas is stealing the aid, and you can Google this right now, there have been stories basically happening every day for the past 4 weeks. They did allow humanitarian aid to come through.
They're literally starving these people, and I believe they're shooting down people that are trying to go after this food, including children. I'm not 100% on that, but it's disgusting what Bibi is getting away with. And it seems like he was about to be not recalled, but there was going to be an election to actually change him from being a prime minister. And I believe because that attack happened from Gaza, which it seems like it was planned, the more time that goes on, the more it gets exposed. That's what kept the election from coming in, which then he would have been replaced. It seems like it was all set up to keep him in power.
Up the humanitarian aid site. And when the Palestinians go to get the aid, the Israelis start shooting them. This happened just the other day. There was a very high profile case. About a dozen people were killed. They set up the aid. And of course, the Palestinians flocked there because the Gaza Strip has been blockaded. Ever since the ceasefire deal fell apart, they had a ceasefire deal in January. It expired in March. They were supposed to negotiate a second phase of it, but they never did. When the ceasefire, the first phase of it expired, Israel reimposed its blockade. So that means no food, no water, no electricity, no medicine, nothing gets in. As a result, it's a forced famine. They can't get food. And Israel's destroyed all the infrastructure too. They destroyed all the buildings, all the roads, all the schools, all the farmland, everything. And so the U.S. government, which is not really pro-Palestine, by the way, there's a lot of pro-Israel people in the government. You could argue they're almost running the foreign policy. When the White House demanded that Israel let foreign aid into the Strip, they let the foreign aid in, and then Israel starts shooting the people when they go and get the aid. And it happens like almost every day for weeks. And
so, Nick, wait, why are they doing that? If they're trying to bring aid, why are they all of a sudden, when the Palestinians have the opportunity to go get the aid, are they denying them access by shooting at them?
Israel doesn't want them to have the aid. The Europeans want the Palestinians to have aid.
So why are they bringing
it
in the beginning? I'm trying to understand.
They're being forced by the U.S. and Europe, because the U.S. and Europe are saying, because this is hurting our reputation. And the United States is a Christian nation. Even Donald Trump has a personal appeal saying, I don't want to see these people get slaughtered like this. You got to give us some leeway here. You got to let some aid in, which even I was surprised that he did that. The Israelis don't want them to have aid because the Israelis ultimately want all of them to leave.
Yep.
There's 2 million Palestinians living in Gaza, 2.1 million. And basically their goal since 2023, which was articulated in official government documents, was they want to get all of the Palestinians out. They want them to move to Libya, Ethiopia, Morocco, these other countries. And they're framing it like, well, we're going to let them leave voluntarily. But what they're doing on the other side is they're starving them, dehydrating them, blowing up their homes, so that basically they have no choice. So they say to the Palestinians, do you want to stay here in hell where you have no home to return to? It's all rubble.
And a lot of people are saying what Nick Fuentes is fake news, but if you just look into it, it actually is true.
There's no food and water, or you want to go move to Libya. And that's really their goal.
So then, okay, so my question, because a lot of Netanyahu's responses, obviously, he referred to Hamas multiple times. Anytime we asked something regarding Gaza starvation, Hamas was the answer. What's Hamas's role then? What's actually going on with Hamas? Aside from the Palestinian people, how do you separate the two?
This is the elected government of Gaza as of 2006. Israel used to occupy Gaza. They left. They held elections in Gaza, and the people there elected Hamas.
Right.
And in fairness, Hamas is not an organization, as a Christian, that I support. There are many leftists. There are many Muslims that support it. And I think, they have their reasons for it. As a Christian, I'm not the biggest fan. And there is...
Hey, hope you're having a great day.
Sort of this symbiotic relationship between Israel and Hamas. Of course, Hamas carried out the attack on October 7, 2020.
I haven't been posting as much lately because it's been a crazy last couple of weeks. Multiple family emergencies, and so that's why.
I'm sure he talked about that a lot as well, where Hamas came in to Israel. They invaded by hang gliders and motorbikes and boats, and they took hostages and they killed people, and they brought the hostages back into Gaza. And I think that is not excusable. I'm Catholic. We believe there are moral ways to conduct a war, and taking hostages and killing civilians is not one of those ways. Muslims will argue that the Palestinians are in such a desperate situation. The only way to fight an asymmetrical war is with tactics like that. I tend to disagree on moral grounds, but in any case, the reason that the Israelis blame Hamas is because they say, well, Hamas started it. Hamas carried out the first attack. But if you go back to October 7th, this is a big thing that Netanyahu's actually in trouble for in his home government. His own government wants to interrogate him.
I was just talking about this. There was an election, and the attack made it so there was no election because the people of Israel don't even like him.
They believe that he let that attack happen. Israel is like an intelligence superpower. They're a spying superpower. And the people in Gaza, they don't have a lot of material. This is not a very advanced military. They don't have a standing army. They don't have really serious weapons or anything like that. And so there's this big question of how on October 7th does Israel, which is a nuclear-armed, spying intelligence superpower, how does it not see this coming? How is it not prepared? Israel has nuclear bombs and Hamas has bottle rockets and fireworks. How do they, and it's, by the way, it's the most surveilled border in the whole world. It's not a very long border.
Nick,
so you think they knew about it and they let it happen in order to have an excuse to start the war?
Ding, ding, ding.
I think that, in my personal opinion, I think that Netanyahu effectively stood down. He allowed the attack to happen, because there's no way they couldn't have known. They saw that Hamas was preparing for an attack like this. They saw that they were making exactly the types of preparations for the October 7th attack. They were warned in advance. There's been documents coming out ever since for the past 2 years that at the highest level, Israeli intelligence knew something was coming, exactly the kind of attack that happened. They knew when it was going to happen. They stood down. They allowed it to happen. And then as the Palestinians...
What's all of you guys' opinion? Because the more I dig into Israel, especially lately, it seems like they have such a strong hold over our politicians. It's almost like people expect us to just be in cahoots with Israel, when if you actually look at what they've said and done these past 20 years, some effed up stuff. also Mossad, Israel's intelligence, they were literally running the whole entire Jeffrey Epstein blackmail pedophile operation. Israel is behind that if you just look into it and stop watching big media. So, I mean, the more I learn about Israel and their hold on their government, the more I dislike them and cannot stand them. And I'm not anti-Semitic for saying that. That's just the truth. If you look into it, you will see what I'm saying is 100% facts.
Hamas was fleeing back into Gaza. This is part of Israeli doctrine. The Israelis were shooting on their own people. There were homes that were exploded by Israeli tanks. And they say that's friendly fire. I would say they're trying to increase the kill count so that they can make it a bigger atrocity. That way they have a bigger claim to go to war against Hamas.
I will tell you, we
crazy.
brought that up because I agree with you on that. And one thing that we did talk to Netanyahu on is, like you said, Gaza will send rockets over. They get shot down by Israel, no problem, anytime. But you're not prepared for fucking paragliders on a music festival that's nearly on the border. We asked him, I was like, how the hell does that happen? And I don't want to say he held himself.
Because there was an election that was going to replace Netanyahu, and he needed that attack to happen in order to deny the election from taking place. It's already came out. That's the facts. Netanyahu needed an attack to happen because he was going to get kicked out. And that's it. It's really that simple.
Accountable, but he did say, like, you're absolutely right. It should have been prevented. So that part, I do agree with you. And I think that's the biggest question that every person has is how the fuck, like you just said, the IDF being as intelligent and strong as they are, how the hell does that happen? And I don't think that's something that's been answered or people want to know, and it's yet to be answered.
So then, Nick, to me, this has been like, obviously this is the most sensitive issue on the fucking planet, in my opinion. We asked Netanyahu to this too, like, what does he say to Palestinians that just want peace? So I'd ask you the same question. Like, there's a lot of people in Israel that probably don't even agree with what's going on. I know a lot of like American Jews that I talk to, they don't support Netanyahu at all. Which was even when when we got this opportunity, we started to ask all our Jewish friends, we're like, what do you think about Netanyahu? And they're like, fucking hate him. And we're like, everyone hates this guy. So by having him on, we knew what type of backlash we were going to get for sure. Because when I started to learn that my Jewish friends don't even like him, I was like, holy fuck. All right, this is really the most hated guy on the planet. But what happens to like the people of Israel then? Like, what happens to, like, there's good people there too that, you know, they don't want to be bombing Palestinians and killing people. What happens to them?
Well, you'd be surprised, but a lot of Israelis, they may not support Netanyahu, but they do support what he's doing. And if Netanyahu left power, actually a more right-wing government would come to power. There's people in his coalition right now that are further to the right than him. And the uncomfortable reality is that even many liberal American Jews and even the so-called liberal left-wing Jews in Israel, they support the war effort, which is not just in Gaza. It's in Gaza. It's in the West Bank, Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq,
Syria as
Iran.
well.
It's everywhere. And what I would say is this. Israel has their own national interest. Israel is their own country. And so the argument goes, they can do what they'd like. But America is our own country too. You know, my show is called America First. And I think that we should have our own independent foreign policy. We should have foreign policy that puts Americans first.
We should have no foreign policy in regards to any country, any nation, including Israel. I'm sorry. I'm America First. Donate all of our own resources, our taxpayer dime, to just America.
And I would say that America is a Christian nation. We have to use our power because we're the most powerful military, the biggest economy. Israel's our ally. They're dependent on us. We send them missiles, military aid. My belief is that America must use its power to bring an end to the fighting for humanitarian reasons. This is not in our interest. This is not good. This is not decent. I don't know any American, Jewish, Christian, whatever. I don't know any American that can see Catholic churches getting blown up and worshipers killed, children being starved to death, and say, we're okay with
Israel is doing that, by the way. They are literally blowing up churches.
Yes. So the uncomfortable reality is that the whole Israeli government is aligned on this. Most of Israeli society is aligned on this, but so is America against what's going on. And I think that, you know, we're distinct. We're a separate country. We're a separate civilization. We're Christian. They're Jewish. We're European. They're ethnically Jewish. And these are not Christian values. They're not European values to allow this kind of atrocity to go on. Over there in Israel, they say, well, the Palestinians are Amalek. That's a biblical term. And it comes from the Old Testament when God commands the Jews to exterminate their enemies. It says, kill their women, kill their children, literally kill everyone. And so in Israel, those are their values. They're saying everyone that is opposed to the Jewish state, they're all guilty. Anyone that is Palestinian supports Hamas, they're all guilty. We're going to kill all of them. And that's why they shoot them at the foreign aid sites. That's why they are doing it in this manner, destroying all the infrastructure. Our values are love your neighbor. There is one commandment, which is love your neighbor like you love yourself, even your enemies, whether real or perceived, love your enemies. So I would say that for the people in Israel, America has to come in and say, listen up, you're dependent on us. You use our missiles, our money to prosecute this war. It ends today. And I think that's what Trump should do. That's my position.
What do you think about being an American Jew? It seems like it's becoming harder and harder daily. Like, what do you think?
I don't think it is
and
that.
I can agree with that as well. People getting attacked at colleges for being Jewish too. I think we should just stop dealing with all these countries and let them deal with themselves. I don't know why America always has to be in other people's crap.
In terms of who, but in terms of like, who do you support? Because I mean, it seems like, and maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like people are coming at him harder and harder. But it's like, you want people to put America first. I put America first, and it's becoming harder to be a Jew here.
Well, the thing is about American Jews, which I and this is politically incorrect, in our media in Hollywood, American Jews are portrayed as the biggest victim.
Real quick, because I know what he's going to go into right now. If you look into this, the people that are the highest and run everything in our country, the USA, they are all Jewish. Do you think that's a coincidence? He's about to go into it. Listen what he's about to do.
People talk about the Holocaust. They talk about Ellis Island. I just saw this movie, The Brutalist, last night, which is basically gratuitous propaganda. But the reality is, we all know Jewish people are an extraordinarily privileged group in America. They're one of the richest demographics, the most influential, the most educated. And, people will say this is an anti-Semitic trope, but all you have to do is when you look at ownership of the powerful elite institutions, whether it's finance, whether it's media, academia, these are just the facts. They're overrepresented to an extraordinary degree. And so you have this contrast where on the one hand, we're supposed to see them as victims. They're always talking about anti-Semitism. They're always living in fear. They can't trust anybody. At the same time, they're the biggest donors to both major political parties. They run the biggest talent agencies in Hollywood. It happened to my friend, Ye, when Ye put out his tweet and said Jewish people invented cancel culture, the ADL and Ari Emanuel, two extraordinarily powerful people, Jonathan Greenblatt at the ADL and Ari Emanuel, who runs one of the biggest talent agencies, they made it their mission to cancel his Adidas deal, his Gap deal, his $5 billion net worth evaporated overnight. And that was largely through their influence. And so it's sort of funny. On the one hand, they were saying, Ye, Kanye West, artist formerly known as, is creating anti-Semitism. We live in fear. This is another Holocaust. At the same time, they had so much power that they got him canceled. They got him banned on Instagram. They got his money frozen. They got his deals canceled. He couldn't get a lawyer. I was sitting with him in a hotel room.
Wait, who's
December
this? Sorry.
2022.
Oh, Kanye.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, Kanye. Sorry, I was just clarifying.
Yeah, yay. I was sitting with him in a hotel room in 2022. This is one of the biggest recording artists, biggest fashion designers, biggest artists of all time. And he could not find one lawyer, a single lawyer, who would try to get his $500 million that Adidas had frozen in his bank account back. Yeah. Think about that. This is somebody who you would think has...
But so Nick, this is for me where I'm kind of on the outside too with this argument is because for me, when I see Ye,
Caitlin, the problem is leaders like him who have such a low approval rating, they know going on these type of shows, that they aren't smart enough to ask these type of questions or really hold them accountable. Now, if they would have asked Nick, he would have held him to the fire on every question and knew his rebuttals. So you can't have that, of course, because then that'll make Netanyahu look like a war criminal and like he's fake. So they brought on Nelk. So that's what I think, at least. But I mean, it makes sense what you're saying as well.
Just says fuck Jewish people. He doesn't say like. I've seen him say
he
that.
has a song,
He's never
Hail
said that.
Hitler. But
he's never said. And I know him.
But how about how about saying Hail Hitler?
He has a whole song like that. So that's where it's hard to differentiate.
Because I agree with you. There's rich Jews. There's a lot of rich Jews in Hollywood. But like one of our guy that does our clips is like, I'm not going to say his name, but he's a Jewish guy too. He's our friend. He shares a fucking 2-bedroom apartment in New York. You know, he's lucky to pull a 7 on a good night at the bar. He's not wealthy by any means. He's just, an average Jew. So like when they like, I know the rich Jews are different and, they're probably part of some of the elite, but how about the other Jewish people? Like, I feel like just from the outside, I see like a lot of just like general hate. Would you agree or no?
Well, let's back up to Ye for a sec. He never said fuck Jews. He never said that at all. And you say he made a song called Hail Hitler. He did make a song like that. But if you listen to the lyrics, he says, when you have a culture that is...
I can say I don't agree with the Epstein files not being released, and it seems like they're going to be doing that soon. I have critiqued Trump a lot on that. But I mean, record low border crossing 0, I believe, these last 2 months. 4-year low gas prices of food are going down. They are getting all these illegals out of the country. There is a lot of good stuff happening in our country, regardless if you want to admit it or not. But most are parasites, but I don't think Trump is. I think he handled the whole Epstein thing like shit and they need to actually go through who they're hiring for their administration, because it does seem like Israel does control our politicians. I will agree on that. But I think Trump is doing some legendary stuff. Record low, 0 illegals, I'll repeat. We cannot deny that's a good, successful fact right there.
So anti-Black, for example. You have a culture of rap music that celebrates violence, abortion. That's like a genocide against his people. He's Black, and abortion kills millions of Black people every year, and Jewish people are the biggest supporters of abortion, of the Democrat Party, which supports abortion. Jewish record producers make these albums that are about violence. So he, as a Black person, is saying millions of Black babies are being aborted. You don't care about that. Now I'm going to say something that's going to trigger you. You don't care about the pain of Black people. I'm going to say something where I don't care about the pain of your people. So there is a subtle distinction, because he's not a hater. He loves everybody. He has Jewish employees still, several actually. But he says, look, if you don't care about, if you're going to say fuck Black people and fuck...
Nelk Boy's the guy on the right. They do like a prank channel. So I don't really think they know a lot about politics. But yeah, they are, I would say, and I love them when it comes to their funny videos, but they are dumb when it comes to politics. But I think they knew what they were doing at the same time. So they're playing stupid. That's what I believe.
White people. Well, how about Hail Hitler? What do you think about that? And so that's sort of like, it goes to show the double standard. And that's why I say about ordinary Jews in America, it's sort of the same thing. I mean, you see someone like Sarah Silverman. Sarah Silverman, she's a Jewish comedian.
But with
she
Kanye,
goes on TV.
Kanye, so you're saying he blames all the rap music. He blames like the Jewish owners of the record labels, but then he'll go and collab with he'll collab still with a lot of those guys and show them love, like Future and shit like that too. I mean, Future makes a ton of that music. So where's his logic with that?
It's not about
why does he just blame like the owners, the Jewish owners, instead of his own peers?
Well, he's called them out by name. People like Ari Emanuel and many of the other producers.
No, I'm saying the other rappers. Though. Like I saw.
You'd have to ask him. Yeah. You'd have to ask him why he still collaborates with Future. But as far as the message from that song, he's very clear. He says, "They've taken my kids from me. They don't understand how I'm feeling." And the message is literally, they don't care about me, so I'm going to become the villain. Hail Hitler. Now what? The song. As far as his collaboration with Future, I'm not a big rap guy. I couldn't tell you. You'd have to ask him. But that's just to clarify, because he said fuck Jews. But they always interpret it that way. If you criticize Israel, they say it's anti-Semitism.
Which I don't agree with that.
And then we're on the same page on that, but that's not what Congress would say.
That's just what I wanted to clear up, because from the outside it seems like my Jewish friend in New York who actually doesn't like Netanyahu will get flack and be boxed in with rich Jews in Hollywood, which is just like just not the same
Nick,
thing.
I want to ask
maybe
you,
that's inaccurate. I don't know.
I want to go back really quick because the whole reason we're here is the Netanyahu pod. I just want to get your overall opinion on having him on, whether you think
having him on in general, besides line of questioning.
Sure, we didn't press him hard enough, but in general, having him on and playing the neutral field, which I believe we did. You said you haven't watched the whole thing, but I think you would agree. What's your overall take on that? And by the way, I don't know if you saw this. We're planning on having pro-Palestinian on next podcast. That's what we're here to do.
Well, I think we should maybe even upload this to YouTube.
Yeah. Well, we have. Yeah.
Are you allowed on YouTube, Nick?
I think so. I used to not be, but lately it seems like they're relaxing the censorship. So I've been able to stay up there in the past few months.
I want to hear. I want to hear your response though to having Netanyahu on. Just your overall opinion.
Well, I think that the intention was not bad, but I'm going to be honest with you. I think that Netanyahu cynically used your platform to try to reach young people,
Of course,
because he knew that you weren't. And listen, I'm not knocking you. I think that, look, I would have done it. If I was in your shoes, I would have done the show too. And I think people need to empathize a little bit. It's a no-brainer. It's a hot show. It's a big show. It's whether you love him or hate him, he's one of the most important people of our age. He's been in power for 30 years. Who else can say that? So I get why you did it. But from his point of view, his thought was, I'm going to come in on this show and I'm going to be cool again. We're going to make the right wing pro-Israel again. We're going to make the young people pro-Israel. And I think that the way that you can kind of, because you're getting a lot of flack for it, you're getting a lot of heat. The only way that you can keep it fair is you got to have a pro-Palestine person. You got to have an America First person to achieve the balance.
We're already planning on that. We're already planning on that before this pod.
Then there you go. Then I think that's, as long as it's balanced, as long as it's fair, then I think it's not a problem.
Nick,
but people take issue. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go. Finish up. I got to ask you one more thing, though.
Yeah. I was just going to say, the only thing is people take issue. They see you guys kissing the wall in Israel. They see Netanyahu on the podcast. You did the thing with Trump, and they look at that and they say, these guys are shills, basically. You're part of an influence campaign. And
honestly, this might be the dumbest question ever, and I might look like a dumbass, but the kissing the wall thing, I don't even know what that was.
That's what they do.
Is that just a Jewish thing?
Because also the presidents have.
Wait, I want to hear this. Yeah, because I've seen you and Myron roast us for this.
No, and here's the thing about this: it's called birthright. This is what the Israelis do. Israeli or Jewish billionaires, they will sponsor trips of young kids like yourselves to go and visit Israel. And they basically take you on a propaganda tour. And they don't tell you what's going on. They say, oh, this is the wall. We kissed the wall. Oh, this is what's happening in Gaza. Hamas won't leave us alone. They're known for this. And they take advantage of people like yourselves. They almost did it to me when I was 18 in college. The first thing that they said to me when I went to a Young Americans for Liberty meeting was, do you want an all-expense paid trip to Israel? Mm-hmm. They did it to Gavin McInnes, the founder of the Proud Boys. They took him on a free trip to Israel that they pay for, and they indoctrinate them with propaganda. Kissing the wall, that's the remnant of the Second Temple that was destroyed thousands of years ago. And it is a Jewish ritual. And the point of it is basically to get you guys on the side of Israel. They pay for your trip. They take you on this tour. And it's basically this like extended propaganda mission. So the young people say, oh, I like Israel. I've been to Israel. They paid for my trip. I had a great time. I had a lot of great food. I met good people. It's super cool. And they don't even explain to you what's going on. And that's part of their soft power. That's a form of lobbying.
Yeah. But with the wall, that's not a Christian. That's not a holy Christian site too. Cause I grew up Catholic. That's nothing to do with, it's only a Jewish thing.
That's a Jewish thing because that's the wall of the temple. As Christians, we believe that Jesus Christ came to earth so that we don't have any need for the sacrifices that took place at that temple. He's the sacrifice. The church is the temple. So we don't have any need for that anymore. That's why the temple was destroyed after Christ arrived. So it's almost a contradiction. It's almost contrary to Christianity to do that.
Interesting. Okay.
All right. Well, Nick, I'm personally, I'm gonna I'm an American Jew, so I'm getting a lot of.
So this is where he starts talking about himself. I want to actually switch over to X because I have a really good clip I want to show you guys in regards to Myron Gaines, who also put Nelk, I would say, on game because it seemed like they knew nothing that was going on. Sorry about the blur. I got a new camera and it's been not clear lately, but I want to show you guys what Myron Gaines told Nelk about the history of Israel.
Oh,
Supposedly this is it. Let's see what he says.
Kyle, no! Fuck, man! God damn it! God damn it, bro! Every single time, man! Fuck! Yo! Come on, man! Damn! Bruh! And this is funny because as you guys know, yesterday or 2 days ago, they dropped the interview with Andrew Tate, and Andrew Tate was talking about where you can speak freely, and he said in America you can't talk about the Jews, and or he asked Kyle, who can you not talk about in the United States? And Kyle said, the Dems. Fucking retarded, bro. And Andrew's like, no, the Jews. Here, I'll pull the clip up for you guys. It was fucking hilarious. But here he is kissing the wall, bro. God damn, man. Say it ain't so. And this comes from, shout out to Red Pill saying, he's the one that posted a lot of this shit.
But every single country in the world has things you cannot talk about. Every single country in the world.
This isn't the clip I was trying to show you guys. Sorry about that. Because I wasn't in my bookmarks. This is what I want to show you, where he actually told them the history.
We had him on in the first place.
100%.
Well, I watched it, and he lied to y'all about a bunch of shit. So that's kind of what it is. Like, I know Hassan didn't watch it, so he's over here lecturing like a fucking dickhead, but I actually watched the interview. You lied about a bunch of shit. Like, for example, one of the things he lied about was like, oh, they were burning babies alive. That's not true. A lot of the shit that happened on October 7th was a lie. There was no mass rapes. There was no beheaded babies.
Whoa. Really?
Oh, yeah, dude. Like that's bro. He fucking was just saying, look, if you guys want me to really go through this, I can. But a lot of the stuff that went down on October 7th was sensationalized and a fucking lie. Look at your chat. They know I'm telling the truth.
Let me see.
Look at your chat right now. A lot of the shit that went down on October 7th was a fucking lie. And most people don't have the balls to fucking call this shit out, dude. There was no beheaded babies, no babies in ovens.
Okay.
Mass rapes were a lie. Look at your chat, bro.
But murders happened?
They're saying facts, but
Murders happened or no murders?
chill.
No, murders happened, but
Yeah.
it's very important for you guys to understand how the murders went down. So there were 1,200 people that died on that day, right? 400 of those people that were killed were IDF soldiers, which by international law means they are enemy combatants and they're fair game. Next was about 800 people died. Now, this is the part that no one wants to talk about. The 800 that died, right, that were civilians. We'll also keep in mind that everyone in Israel has to join the IDF at some point and do service. So you can make the argument that they're enemy combatants, but that's fine. Let's go with 800 civilians, right? Those 800 civilians, we don't know who Hamas killed versus who the IDF killed. Now, I know you guys are probably saying like, yo, what the fuck? The reason for that, guys, is there was a controversial directive activated that day called the Hannibal Directive. The Hannibal Directive is authorization from the government to kill Israeli citizens and or soldiers when they're about to be kidnapped by Palestinian militias. And the reason why they do this is so they don't end up in a position where they have to exercise diplomacy and do hostages exchanges. They learned this with a guy back in 2006 named Gilad Shalit. So what Hamas did when they went in there, the goal was to get as many hostages as possible to negotiate the release of Palestinian prisoners that are in Israel. Again, I'm not here to condone their behavior, but I'm here to tell you guys why they did the said behavior and what really went down and what the intention was. So when we talk about the 800 Israelis that were killed, innocent people were killed. I'm not refuting that. But what I will say is a lot of those innocent people that were killed by the IDF. How do we know this? Because they were shot by Apache helicopters with Hellfire missiles. Hamas doesn't have that. There was some of them in the kibbutzes, which is their homes.
I mean,
They were
Myron,
shot
this
with
is
tanks.
crazy now. We're going conspiracy theories.
That's
This
his
is not
response.
conspiracy theories, bro. This is 100% fact.
Because didn't,
Matter of
but
fact,
didn't on October 7th, Hamas captured American citizens as well, right?
yeah, they had like a couple U.S. citizens, but they just got one of the guys back.
We just went at I'm gonna let you speak, but we just went at Hassan for hypotheticals and conspiracies, so we gotta just keep that same energy. Now, I want to tell you one thing. Wait, I'm gonna tell you really quick.
Yo,
You
yeah,
watched the
bro,
podcast.
bro,
Wait,
hold on.
Myron. We went at Netanyahu for. Okay, go ahead.
I really like Myron Gaines. I don't know what you guys think about him, but he comes in hot and he always comes with the facts too. And especially with his background experience, I believe he was not fed, but he worked for the government.
Hear me out. Everything I just told you, I got from Israeli media. When I'm talking about the people that were killed, the Hannibal directive that was activated that day. Their defense minister, a guy named Yoav Gallant, admitted on October 7th the Hannibal directive was activated, which means they killed innocent civilians. IDF did this because they didn't want them to get kidnapped. Okay? And none of this stuff is a conspiracy theory. Another thing, this comes from the Israel Times. They could have got the hostages back on October 10th. But guess what? They didn't want to get the hostages back because he wanted to bomb the fuck out of Gaza and invade. Because he used what happened on October 7th as an excuse to perpetrate a war against the entire Middle East. Because Israel wants to create the Greater Israel Project and expand territory.
Also, after that, he didn't point out the point that there was an election coming up. They were going to fucking vote Netanyahu out. And what did he do? He let it happen. I think Israel did know about this attack, and they needed, what do you call it? People to get your mind off this and focus on this. And the election never happened, and Bibi stayed in power. And look where we are today, folks. Anyways, hope you guys have a great day. I'll be live streaming tomorrow a few more times since I'm off the next few days. Hope you guys have a blessed day.